Dr. Simone Reynolds, a humble yet powerful Black CEO in the town of Eastbridge, passionately works to promote inclusivity and address systemic biases. Despite her modest lifestyle and genuine efforts, she encounters relentless racism and prejudice from community members, board members, and authorities. Subtle microaggressions and overt discriminatory actions escalate tensions, leading to her unjust arrest on fabricated embezzlement charges intended to discredit her initiatives. As Simone navigates these infuriating and racist obstacles, the story highlights the deep-seated challenges she faces in her fight for justice and equality. The sun was just beginning its ascent over the horizon, casting a warm golden hue across the city of Eastbridge. Nestled between towering skyscrapers and historic brick buildings, the small-town charm of Eastbridge was a testament to its rich heritage and close-knit community. The streets, though lined with modern amenities, still retained the essence of the past, where neighbors knew each other by name and local businesses thrived on personal connections. In the heart of Eastbridge stood Elmwood Cafe, a beloved local diner known for its hearty breakfasts and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The cafe was a staple for early risers, offering a respite from the bustling city life just a few blocks away. Its large windows allowed patrons to watch the world wake up, providing a sense of connection between the inside and out. At a corner table near the window sat Dr. Simone Reynolds, the CEO of Reynolds Health Systems. At first glance, one might not recognize her amidst the casual diners. Her attire was simple, a crisp white blouse paired with well-worn jeans, and her demeanor exuded humility. Unlike the typical high-powered executive who might prefer private meetings in sleek boardrooms, Simone chose to spend her mornings here, grounding herself in the simplicity of everyday life. Simone was a woman of remarkable achievements. As the head of one of the most influential healthcare organizations in the region, her decisions impacted thousands of lives. Her office was adorned with awards and commendations, each symbolizing a milestone in her career. Yet, despite her success, Simone maintained a modest lifestyle. She lived in a modest home on the outskirts of town, drove a practical sedan, and spent her weekends volunteering at local shelters. Her colleagues often marveled at her ability to balance power with profound humility. This particular morning, Simone was engrossed in her journal, scribbling notes and reflecting on the upcoming board meeting. Her presence in Elmwood Cafe was a deliberate choice, a way to stay connected with the community she served so diligently. As she sipped her black coffee, her mind wandered to the challenges facing her organization, particularly the rising concerns about healthcare accessibility in underserved neighborhoods. The bell above the cafe door jingled softly as a young man entered, scanning the room before making his way to the counter. He was dressed in a casual attire that blended seamlessly with the regular patrons: jeans, a graphic tee, and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He ordered a coffee and glanced around, his gaze briefly landing on Simone. Simone looked up, meeting his eyes with a warm smile. "Good morning," she greeted, her tone friendly yet professional. The young man hesitated for a moment before approaching her table. "Good morning, Dr. Reynolds," he said, a hint of nervousness in his voice. Simone gestured to the empty seat across from her. "Please, have a seat. How can I help you today?" He pulled up a chair, removing his cap and revealing short, curly hair. "I'm Jamal Carter," he introduced himself. "I'm a student here at Eastbridge High, and I've been following the work your organization is doing in our community." Simone nodded appreciatively. "Thank you, Jamal. It's always encouraging to hear from the younger generation. What's on your mind?" Jamal took a deep breath, his fingers fidgeting with the sleeve of his shirt. "I've been involved in a project to increase healthcare awareness in Eastbridge, especially in areas that don't have easy access to medical facilities. But I've run into some roadblocks. Some people are resistant to the idea, and I'm not sure how to move forward." Simone leaned forward, her eyes attentive. "Tell me more about the challenges you're facing." Jamal sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's a mix of things. There's skepticism about the intentions behind the project, and some of the residents are distrustful of outsiders coming in to offer solutions. I feel like we're hitting a wall." Simone nodded thoughtfully. "Building trust takes time, especially in communities that have felt overlooked or marginalized. Have you considered involving local leaders or influencers who already have the community's trust?" Jamal's eyes brightened slightly. "We have a few teachers and community organizers on board, but it seems like there's still a lot of resistance. Simone tapped her pen against her journal. Perhaps a more grassroots approach would help, hosting informal gatherings, like town hall meetings or workshops, where people can voice their concerns and feel heard. It's important to create a dialogue, not just present solutions. Jamal looked hopeful. That makes sense. Creating a space for open communication could bridge some of that gap. Simone smiled. Exactly. And remember, it's not just about the project itself, but about empowering the community to take ownership of it. When people feel they have a stake in the initiative, they're more likely to support and sustain it. Jamal nodded, absorbing her words. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. I really appreciate your insights. She waved a hand dismissively. Anytime, Jamal. If you need further assistance or resources, don't hesitate to reach out. As Jamal left the cafe, Simone returned to her journal, her thoughts lingering on the conversation. The city was changing, and with it came new challenges that required nuanced solutions. Her role as a leader wasn't just about steering her organization towards profitability, but about fostering genuine connections and addressing the systemic issues that hindered progress. Across town, the streets of Eastbridge buzzed with the usual morning activities. Parents hurried their children to school, street vendors set up their stalls, and the local newspaper boy made his rounds, delivering fresh news to eager readers. The sense of community was palpable, yet beneath the surface, there were undercurrents of tension and inequality that Simone was all too familiar with. In her line of work, Simone had witnessed firsthand how systemic challenges, racial disparities, economic inequalities, and institutional biases permeated every facet of society. As a Black woman in a position of power, she often found herself navigating spaces where her authority was both respected and questioned. While many admired her for breaking barriers, others viewed her success with suspicion, attributing it to favoritism or tokenism rather than merit. Today, however, her presence at Elmwood Cafe was a deliberate effort to bridge that gap. She wanted to be seen not just as a CEO, but as a member of the community who understood their struggles and was committed to making a tangible difference. Her modest lifestyle was a testament to her values. Despite her wealth and influence, she chose to live simply, believing that true leadership was rooted in humility and empathy. As Simone packed up her journal and prepared to leave, the cafe owner, Mrs. Langston, approached her with a warm smile. Mrs. Langston had known Simone for years, often offering her a free meal in exchange for occasional volunteer work at the local shelter. "Thank you for coming by so early, Simone," Mrs. Langston said, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. "It's always a pleasure to see you here." Simone returned the smile. "It's my pleasure, Mrs. Langston. The cafe is the perfect place to start the day." Mrs. Langston chuckled, glancing out the window. "Speaking of starting the day, we have a new customer joining us this morning. I think you two will get along well." Simone raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. "Oh, who's that?" Mrs. Langston pointed to a man seated near the entrance, dressed in an impeccably tailored suit that contrasted sharply with the casual attire of the other patrons. He was flipping through a thick report, his expression focused yet approachable. "That's Marcus Bennett," she explained. "He's the new regional manager for our supply chain operations. Heard he's quite the strategist." Simone nodded thoughtfully. "I look forward to meeting him." As if on cue, Marcus looked up from his report, his eyes meeting Simone's with a polite nod. He stood up, extending his hand with a firm grip. "Good morning, Dr. Reynolds. It's a pleasure to finally meet you." Simone returned the gesture, her handshake warm and confident. "Good morning, Marcus. I've heard great things about your work. Welcome to Eastbridge." Marcus smiled, pulling out a chair to join her table. "Thank you, Simone. I'm excited to be here and contribute to the community." As they settled into conversation, the morning sun continued to climb, casting a vibrant glow over Elmwood Cafe. Their discussion flowed effortlessly, touching on mutual interests, community initiatives, and the intricacies of their respective roles. Despite their professional standing, there was an undeniable ease in their interaction, a shared understanding of the responsibilities and pressures that came with their positions. Unbeknownst to them, their seemingly routine meeting was about to set off a chain of events that would challenge their perceptions and test the very foundations of Eastbridge's harmonious facade. The city, while picturesque and welcoming, was a microcosm of broader societal issues that were often hidden in plain sight but had the potential to disrupt the delicate balance of community life. As the day progressed, Simone found herself reflecting on her conversation with Jamal and her interaction with Marcus. The seeds of change were being sown, not through grand gestures or sweeping reforms, but through genuine connections and the willingness to listen. However, the path ahead was fraught with obstacles, both visible and concealed, that would require resilience, collaboration, and unwavering commitment. The social climate in Eastbridge was a tapestry of diversity and unity, yet threads of prejudice and inequality lingered beneath the surface. While progress had been made, systemic challenges persisted, manifesting in subtle biases and unspoken barriers that hindered true inclusivity. Simone was acutely aware of these dynamics, understanding that her role wasn't just to lead her organization, but to champion the values of equity and justice within the community. As evening approached and the cafe began to empty, Simone and Marcus stood up, preparing to leave. The setting sun cast long shadows across the streets, a reminder of the day's end and the promise of new beginnings. "Simone, it's been enlightening," Marcus said, a hint of determination in his voice. "I believe our collaboration can bring about meaningful change." Simone nodded, her eyes reflecting a blend of hope and resolve. "I agree, Marcus. Together, we can address the challenges Eastbridge faces and create a more equitable future for everyone." They shared a firm handshake, sealing their mutual commitment. As they parted ways, the night enveloped Eastbridge, its streets now illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights and the distant sounds of the city. The tranquility was deceptive, concealing the undercurrents of tension that threatened to disrupt the peace. In the days to follow, the interactions between Simone, Marcus, and the community would reveal the hidden fractures within Eastbridge. From unexpected confrontations to alliances formed in the wake of adversity, the journey ahead promised to be one of introspection, growth, and the relentless pursuit of justice. If you're enjoying this story so far, give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more compelling narratives that inspire and engage. Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this story so far, give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more compelling narratives that inspire and engage. Thank you for watching. The following week in Eastbridge, the town buzzed with anticipation over the upcoming grand opening of Horizon Apartments. The development promised to breathe new life into the area, offering modern amenities and sustainable living solutions. Simone Reynolds viewed it as an opportunity to further bridge gaps within the community, fostering inclusivity and accessibility in every aspect of the project. On a brisk Monday morning, Simone prepared for the scheduled meeting with Marcus Bennett and the Horizon Apartments team. She donned her favorite pair of well-worn jeans and a navy blazer, a nod to her preference for comfortable yet professional attire. As she reviewed her notes one last time, her phone buzzed with a message from Jamal Carter, the student she had previously assisted. "Hi Dr. Reynolds, just wanted to let you know our grassroots initiative is gaining some traction. We have a small group planning a community outreach event this weekend. Would love your support." Simone smiled, feeling a surge of pride at Jamal's progress. "This is exactly the kind of collaborative effort we need," she thought, tucking her phone into her bag. Stepping into Horizon Apartments for the first time, Simone was struck by the sleek, modern design that contrasted sharply with the traditional architecture of Eastbridge. The lobby was spacious, adorned with minimalist decor and large windows that allowed natural light to flood the space. As she approached the reception desk, she was greeted by Elena Ramirez, the project manager. "Good morning, Dr. Reynolds," Elena said, her tone warm but professional. "We're thrilled to have you here." "Good morning, Elena," Simone replied, extending her hand. "The place looks impressive. I'm excited to see the progress." Elena led Simone to a conference room where Marcus Bennett awaited her arrival. Marcus stood by the window, reviewing some documents, his posture exuding confidence and authority. He looked up as Simone entered, offering a firm handshake. "Dr. Reynolds, it's a pleasure to meet you in person," Marcus said with a genuine smile. "The pleasure is mine, Marcus. I've heard great things about your work," Simone responded, taking a seat across from him. As the meeting commenced, Simone outlined her vision for community engagement and the importance of making Horizon Apartments a model of inclusivity. She emphasized the need for accessible healthcare facilities, community centers, and affordable housing options to support diverse populations. Marcus listened attentively, nodding in agreement. I completely agree. Our goal is to create a space that not only provides luxury, but also fosters a sense of belonging for all residents. The discussion flowed smoothly until the topic of community feedback arose. Simone expressed concerns about potential resistance from certain segments of the population, particularly regarding changes in the town's dynamics. Marcus leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. We've anticipated some pushback, but we believe that with transparent communication and active community involvement, we can mitigate most concerns. Simone appreciated his optimism, but couldn't shake the feeling that deeper issues lurked beneath the surface. Eastbridge may seem harmonious, but systemic biases can be insidious, she reminded herself. As the meeting concluded, Elena stepped in to present the finalized plans for the grand opening event. We've arranged for local vendors, entertainment, and a ribbon-cutting ceremony. It's designed to showcase the best of what Horizon Apartments has to offer. Simone nodded, satisfied with the arrangements. It sounds excellent. I'm looking forward to attending and supporting the initiative. Leaving the conference room, Simone felt a mix of accomplishment and unease. Her instincts told her that Horizon Apartments, while promising, might inadvertently perpetuate existing inequalities if not handled with care. Determined to stay vigilant, she decided to visit the site later that afternoon to get a first-hand look at the ongoing construction and speak with the workers. By mid-afternoon, Simone arrived at Horizon Apartments, where construction was in full swing. She was greeted by Derek Lawson, the site supervisor, a middle-aged man with a no-nonsense demeanor. Derek had been with the project since its inception and was known for his efficiency and attention to detail. Dr. Reynolds, welcome back, Derek greeted her, shaking her hand firmly. Let me give you a tour. As they walked through the bustling site, Simone observed the workers diligently performing their tasks. However, she couldn't help but notice a few faces that seemed tense, avoiding eye contact and whispering among themselves. Could this be the resistance I was worried about, she pondered. Stopping by a partially constructed apartment, Simone turned to Derek. How is the team handling the current workload? Any challenges? Derek glanced around before responding. Overall, things are on track. We have a dedicated team. Though some workers have expressed concerns about the pace, they're worried it might compromise the quality of their work. Simone nodded, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. It's important that they feel supported. If there are any issues, please let me know so we can address them promptly. As they continued the tour, Simone approached a group of workers gathered near the scaffoldings. One of them, Maria Hernandez, a young Latina woman, was speaking passionately to her colleagues. I just don't get why we're pushing so hard for these deadlines, Maria was saying. It's like they don't care about our well-being. Simone stepped forward, her presence commanding yet approachable. Hi, I'm Dr. Reynolds. I wanted to check in and see how everyone is feeling about the project. Maria looked up, surprise evident in her eyes. Oh, Dr. Reynolds, we're just feeling the pressure. It's been tough keeping up with the expectations. Simone offered a sympathetic smile. I understand it's important to me that everyone feels heard and supported. If there are specific concerns, I'd like to address them. Maria hesitated for a moment before speaking. It's not just the deadlines. Some of us feel like we're being overlooked. We're hard workers, but it sometimes feels like our contributions aren't valued. Simone listened intently, her heart aching at the subtle yet pervasive sentiment. Thank you for sharing that, Maria. Your hard work and dedication are truly appreciated. Let me see what I can do to ensure that everyone feels recognized and supported. As Simone walked away, she couldn't help but feel a growing sense of frustration. The subtle biases and unspoken tensions were becoming increasingly evident, threatening to undermine the very foundation of her efforts to foster inclusivity. Later that evening, Simone attended the grand opening event at Horizon Apartments. The event was a lavish affair, with elegant decorations, live music, and a diverse crowd of attendees. As she mingled with guests, Simone observed the interactions, searching for signs of genuine engagement or underlying tensions. Near the refreshment table, she encountered Officer Jameson Clark, a local police officer who had recently partnered with Reynolds Health Systems on community outreach programs. Officer Clark was a tall man with a stern expression, known for his strict adherence to protocol. Dr. Reynolds, good to see you here, Officer Clark greeted her, offering a perfunctory smile. Hope you're enjoying the event." Simone returned the smile, though it felt somewhat forced. "Thank you, Officer Clark. It's a beautiful setup you have here." Clark glanced around, his eyes briefly meeting Simone's, before darting away. "Yes, we've put a lot of effort into making it a success. Ensuring the safety and security of the event was a priority." Simone nodded, sensing an underlying tension. "I appreciate your hard work, as always." Before Officer Clark could respond, a commotion erupted near the entrance. A group of local residents had gathered, voices raised in discontent. Simone's heart raced as she recognized some familiar faces among the crowd, residents who had previously voiced concerns about the development. One of them, a middle-aged man named Tom Whitaker, stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. "This development is ruining our town. We don't need more luxury apartments pushing out the hard-working families who make Eastbridge what it is." The crowd murmured in agreement, the atmosphere thick with frustration. Simone felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She approached the group, maintaining her composure, despite the rising tension. "Tom, I understand your concerns," Simone began, her voice steady and calm. "Horizon Apartments is designed to complement Eastbridge, not replace it. We're committed to creating opportunities that benefit the entire community." Tom scoffed, stepping closer. "Opportunities? You think just because you've got money and influence, you can steamroll over the people who've been here for generations?" Simone took a deep breath, feeling the sting of the accusation, but refusing to let it break her. "I assure you, our goal is to work together with the community. We've implemented programs aimed at improving healthcare access and creating jobs. Your voices are important to us." Another resident, Linda Parker, a single mother, interjected. "Your programs are nice, but how many of our neighbors are getting actual support? It feels like a facade." Simone's heart pounded, the weight of their words pressing down on her. "How can I show them that we genuinely care?" she wondered internally, her frustration bubbling beneath the surface. Marcus Bennett approached the group, his presence commanding. "Tom, Linda, I hear your frustrations, and I want to ensure that we address them. Simone and I are here to listen and find solutions together." Tom glared at Marcus, but his gaze softened slightly. "We're tired of being ignored. We need tangible actions, not just promises." Simone placed a reassuring hand on Tom's shoulder. "I'm committed to making meaningful changes. Let's sit down and discuss specific ways we can support the community better." As the group dispersed, the tension lingered in the air. Simone felt a mixture of relief and lingering frustration. Despite her efforts to remain calm and professional, the undercurrents of prejudice and bias were becoming increasingly difficult to navigate. That night, as Simone sat in her modest home reflecting on the day's events, she couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness. "I'm doing everything I can to make a difference, but why does it still feel like I'm fighting an uphill battle?" she mused, staring blankly at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Marcus. "We need to talk about today. Meet me at Elmwood Cafe tomorrow morning." Simone sighed, recognizing the weight behind his words. Perhaps we need to strategize a different approach, she thought, knowing that the path to true inclusivity required relentless effort and unwavering commitment. The next morning, Simone arrived at Elmwood Cafe to find Marcus already seated, his expression serious. He gestured to the empty seat across from him. "Thanks for coming," he began, his tone earnest. "Yesterday was challenging." Simone nodded, taking her seat. "It was more than I anticipated. The resistance is stronger than I thought." Marcus leaned forward, his eyes meeting hers with determination. "We need to address the underlying biases head-on. It's not enough to implement programs and hope for the best. We need to actively engage with the community and dismantle these prejudices." Simone listened intently, her frustration mingling with a renewed sense of purpose. "I agree, but how do we start? These attitudes are deeply ingrained." Marcus paused, considering his words carefully. "Education and visibility. We need to create platforms where open dialogue can occur. Maybe community forums, workshops, and partnerships with local leaders who can advocate for change." Simone felt a flicker of hope. "That makes sense. We've been too reactive rather than proactive. It's time to take control of the narrative." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Elena Ramirez, who joined them with a folder in hand. Good morning. Both I've been thinking about our strategy, and I believe we can incorporate some community-driven initiatives to foster better relationships. Simone opened the folder, revealing detailed plans for upcoming events and outreach programs. This is exactly what we need, Elena. Thank you for your dedication. As the three of them delved into the plans, Simone felt the weight of the day lifting slightly. This is the beginning of a new approach, she thought, her determination solidifying. Yet, the nagging sense of systemic bias and the slow pace of change remained, reminding her of the long road ahead. Later that week, Simone attended a community forum organized by Horizon Apartments. The venue was a local community center, modest in size, but filled with eager participants. As she entered the room, she was greeted by a mix of familiar faces and new ones, each carrying their own stories and concerns. Seated at the front was Officer Clark, who had volunteered to speak about community safety and cooperation. His presence was a reminder of the delicate balance between authority and trust within Eastbridge. Simone took a deep breath, preparing herself for the tough conversations that lay ahead. The moderator, a respected community leader named Grace Thompson, began the session by welcoming everyone and outlining the agenda. Tonight, we're here to listen, understand, and collaborate, Grace announced, her voice steady. We want to hear from all sides to ensure that Horizon Apartments contributes positively to our community. As the forum progressed, various community members voiced their concerns and suggestions. Simone listened attentively, jotting down notes and nodding in agreement where appropriate. When it was her turn to speak, she stood confidently, addressing the room with sincerity. I understand that change can be unsettling, and I want to assure you that our intention is to work with you, not against you. We're committed to creating a space that honors the history and diversity of Eastbridge while providing new opportunities for growth and development. Her words were met with a mixture of applause and skeptical murmurs. Simone felt the tension in the room, the unspoken biases simmering beneath the surface. How do I reach them, she wondered, her frustration palpable despite her composed exterior. As the evening drew to a close, Simone found herself approached by Linda Parker, the single mother who had voiced her concerns earlier. Linda's demeanor was cautious, her eyes reflecting a blend of hope and wariness. Dr. Reynolds, Linda began, her voice tinged with hesitation. I appreciate you coming here and listening to us, but actions speak louder than words. How can we be sure that this isn't just another corporate move to boost your image? Simone placed a comforting hand on Linda's shoulder. Your skepticism is valid. Linda, trust isn't built overnight, and it requires consistent effort. We're committed to transparency and accountability. I'd like to involve community members like yourself in our planning processes to ensure that your voices are heard and your needs are met. Linda looked into Simone's eyes, searching for sincerity. I want to believe you, but it's going to take time. We've been let down before. Simone nodded, her own frustration bubbling beneath her calm facade. I understand, and I'm not asking you to trust us immediately. Let's take it one step at a time together. As Simone left the community center, her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. The subtle microaggressions, the overt expressions of bias, and the deep-seated resistance she encountered were all signs of the systemic challenges she had feared. How can I maintain my composure when every step forward feels like pushing against an invisible barrier, she pondered, the internal struggle between anger and professionalism weighing heavily on her. That evening, Simone convened a meeting with Marcus and Elena in her modest living room. The space was simple, adorned with family photos and bookshelves filled with literature on leadership and social justice. As they settled around a small wooden table, Simone looked at her colleagues, her eyes reflecting a mix of determination and exhaustion. We need to address not just the symptoms, but the root causes of these biases, Simone began, her voice steady despite the fatigue etched into her features. Our approach must be multifaceted: education, visibility, and active participation from both sides. Marcus nodded in agreement. Absolutely. We need to create opportunities for meaningful interactions where trust can be built organically. Perhaps mentorship programs where community members can engage directly with our team. Elena added. And we should consider anonymous feedback channels. Sometimes people are more comfortable sharing their true feelings without fear of repercussions. Simone appreciated their insights, feeling a glimmer of hope amidst the mounting challenges. These are excellent ideas. Let's integrate them into our strategy and present them at the next board meeting. We need to show that we're serious about making a difference. As the meeting concluded, Simone felt a renewed sense of purpose. We can do this, she thought, though the path ahead remained uncertain and fraught with obstacles. Days turned into weeks, and Simone continued her relentless pursuit of inclusivity within Eastbridge. She attended numerous community meetings, collaborated with local leaders, and spearheaded initiatives aimed at fostering understanding and cooperation. However, the undercurrents of prejudice and bias were persistent, manifesting in both subtle and overt ways. One afternoon, Simone received a call from Officer Clark. His voice was tense, the weight of unspoken frustrations evident. "Dr. Reynolds, do you have a moment?" he asked, his tone reserved. Simone replied, "Of course, Officer Clark. What's on your mind?" There was a brief pause before Clark spoke again. "I wanted to discuss the security protocols for the upcoming community event. We've had some concerns raised about the level of security and how it might be perceived by the residents." Simone sensed the underlying tension. "I understand. What specifically are the concerns?" Clark hesitated before continuing. "There are fears that increased security presence could be seen as intimidation, especially given recent events. We need to find a balance that ensures safety without alienating the community." Simone nodded thoughtfully. "I agree. Perhaps we can coordinate with community leaders to ensure that the security measures are transparent and that residents understand the intent behind them. We want everyone to feel safe and welcomed." Clark sighed, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "That's a good approach. I'll work on that with my team." As they ended the call, Simone couldn't help but reflect on the complexity of her role. Navigating these biases requires not just strategic planning, but genuine empathy and unwavering resolve. Later that week, Simone attended a meeting with the board of Reynolds Health Systems. The room was filled with high-powered executives, their expressions a mix of skepticism and expectation. Simone took her place at the head of the table, her demeanor calm and collected. "Thank you all for joining on such short notice," Simone began, her voice steady. "I want to update you on our ongoing efforts to foster inclusivity within Eastbridge, specifically related to the Horizon Apartments project." She proceeded to outline the initiatives they had implemented: community forums, mentorship programs, and anonymous feedback channels. She highlighted the positive feedback from some community members, while candidly addressing the challenges they faced. One board member, a stern-looking man named Richard Collins, leaned forward, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Dr. Reynolds, while your efforts are commendable, we've received reports of continued resistance and underlying tensions. What assurance do we have that these initiatives will yield tangible results?" Simone met his gaze, maintaining her composure despite the pressure. "Richard, change is never instantaneous. It requires sustained effort and a willingness to adapt our strategies based on feedback. We've seen incremental progress, and I believe that with continued collaboration, we can address these systemic biases effectively." Another board member, Karen Lee, interjected, "But what about the financial implications? Prolonged resistance could delay the project and inflate costs. We need to consider the bottom line." Simone nodded, understanding the gravity of the concern. "I'm aware of the financial stakes, Karen. However, fostering a harmonious community is integral to the long-term success of Horizon Apartments. Disruptions and delays not only affect our reputation, but also the well-being of the residents we aim to serve." The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of Simone's words hanging in the air. Richard Collins sighed, his posture softening slightly. "You make a valid point, Dr. Reynolds. We need to balance our financial objectives with our commitment to the community. Keep pushing forward, but remain vigilant in addressing these challenges." As the meeting concluded, Simone felt a mixture of relief and lingering frustration. The board's support was crucial, yet the path ahead remained steeped in adversity. "I must remain steadfast," she reminded herself, "for the sake of the community and the integrity of our mission." That evening, Simone attended the grassroots community outreach event organized by Jamal Carter. The venue was a local park, transformed into a vibrant space filled with booths, informational displays, and interactive activities aimed at raising healthcare awareness. Families gathered, children played, and the air buzzed with a sense of purpose. As she navigated through the crowd, Simone encountered familiar faces: Jamal, who greeted her with a warm smile, and several community members she had interacted with during previous meetings. The event was a testament to the collaborative spirit she had been striving to cultivate. Amidst the positive interactions, Simone noticed a group of residents engaged in a heated discussion nearby. She approached cautiously, recognizing some of the same individuals who had voiced their frustrations about Horizon Apartments. One of them, Tom Whitaker, was animatedly speaking to another resident. "This development is just a front. They're trying to gentrify our neighborhood, pushing out long-time residents for their own gain." Simone took a deep breath, her mind racing with the delicate balance between addressing concerns and standing firm in her mission. "Tom, I understand your concerns. Horizon Apartments is committed to supporting the existing community, not replacing it. We're implementing programs to ensure that longtime residents benefit from this development." Tom turned to her, his expression a mix of skepticism and hope. "How can we trust that we've been burned before by projects that promised change but delivered displacement?" Simone maintained her composure, choosing her words carefully. "I hear you, Tom. Trust is built through consistent actions, not just promises. We're here to listen and adapt our plans based on your feedback. Let's work together to create a development that honors Eastbridge's heritage while providing new opportunities." Tom studied her for a moment before nodding slowly. "All right, Dr. Reynolds. We're willing to give it a chance, but we'll be watching closely." As the conversation concluded, Simone felt a flicker of optimism. Small victories like this are crucial, she reminded herself. Yet, the persistent undercurrents of bias and resistance served as a stark reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. That night, as Simone reviewed the day's events, she couldn't ignore the mounting frustration. Why is it so hard to break through these biases, she mused, her mind grappling with the dissonance between her efforts and the resistance she faced. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Marcus. "We need to strategize a community engagement plan that directly addresses these biases. Let's meet tomorrow." Simone replied with a quick acknowledgement, feeling the weight of her responsibilities pressing down on her. "I need to find a way to dismantle these prejudices effectively," she thought, the internal struggle between anger and professionalism intensifying. The following day, Simone met with Marcus and Elena in a quiet corner of Elmwood Cafe. The atmosphere was serene, the early morning light casting a soft glow over their discussion. "We need to implement initiatives that challenge the existing biases head-on," Marcus began, his tone determined. "Perhaps workshops that focus on implicit bias training and fostering empathy among both our staff and the community." Elena nodded, flipping through her notes. "We could also establish mentorship programs where community members can engage directly with our team, building personal connections that break down stereotypes." Simone leaned forward, her eyes meeting theirs with resolve. "These are excellent ideas. Additionally, we should consider visibility campaigns that highlight the diverse faces and stories within our community. Representation matters, and seeing people like themselves involved can help shift perceptions." As they brainstormed, Simone felt a sense of solidarity with her colleagues. "We're in this together," she reminded herself, drawing strength from their shared commitment. However, the path to change remained fraught with obstacles. That evening, Simone attended a local business association meeting, where she was scheduled to speak about Horizon Apartments' community initiatives. The room was filled with local business owners, community leaders, and residents, their expressions a blend of curiosity and skepticism. As she began her presentation, Simone noticed several attendees whispering among themselves, casting furtive glances her way. "Are they doubting us?" she wondered, her frustration bubbling beneath her calm exterior. Midway through her talk, a loud voice cut through the room. "Dr. Reynolds, if you were truly committed to this community, you wouldn't need to hold these meetings. Why not just start by hiring more local residents for your project?" Simone paused, her heart racing as she met the eyes of the speaker, a middle-aged man named George Miller, known for his outspoken nature and influence within the community. Taking a deep breath, Simone responded, her voice steady despite the tension. "George, hiring locally is a priority for us. We're committed to creating jobs and providing opportunities for Eastbridge residents. However, employment alone isn't enough. We need to address the broader systemic issues that affect our community's well-being. George scoffed, shaking his head. Systemic issues. That sounds like corporate jargon. People need real solutions, not empty promises. Simone felt the sting of his words, but maintained her composure. I understand your frustration, George. That's why we're implementing comprehensive programs that go beyond employment, focusing on healthcare access, education, and community development. We're here to work alongside you, not above you. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, but George remained unconvinced. It's easy for you to talk about solutions when you're sitting in your high-rise office. Try living here and dealing with these issues firsthand. Simone felt a surge of anger, but she swallowed it, choosing to respond with professionalism. I respect your perspective, George. It's crucial that we bridge the gap between our roles and the community's needs. Let's collaborate to find actionable solutions that truly benefit Eastbridge. As the meeting continued, Simone noticed the shifting dynamics in the room. Some attendees nodded in agreement, while others remained skeptical, their biases and assumptions evident in their guarded expressions. How do I change these perceptions when they're so deeply rooted? She pondered, the frustration gnawing at her resolve. After the meeting, Simone was approached by several community members who offered a mix of support and criticism. One elderly woman, Mrs. Thompson, thanked her for her efforts, but expressed lingering doubts. You've done a lot, Dr. Reynolds, but we need to see sustained commitment. It's going to take time to rebuild trust. Simone nodded, her determination unwavering despite the obstacles. I hear you, Mrs. Thompson. Trust is earned through consistent actions, and I'm committed to ensuring that our initiatives make a lasting impact. As she left the meeting, Simone couldn't ignore the growing sense of frustration. Why does it seem like every step forward is met with resistance, she thought. The internal battle between anger and professionalism intensifying, yet she refused to let the prejudice and biases deter her from her mission. That night, Simone sat in her living room, reflecting on the events of the past weeks. Her phone buzzed with a message from Jamal. We hosted the community outreach event, and turnout was better than expected. People are starting to open up, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Simone felt a flicker of hope. Every small victory counts, she reminded herself. However, the persistent undercurrents of bias and resistance served as a stark reminder of the systemic challenges that lay ahead. I need to stay focused and continue pushing for meaningful change, she resolved, her frustration giving way to a renewed sense of purpose. As days turned into weeks, the tension in Eastbridge continued to simmer. Simone navigated a complex web of interactions, each encounter revealing deeper layers of prejudice and bias. From dismissive glances at community meetings to subtle undermining in professional settings, the obstacles were both overt and insidious. One afternoon, Simone received an invitation to speak at the Eastbridge High School graduation ceremony. It was an honor she had looked forward to, a chance to inspire the next generation. As she prepared her speech, she couldn't help but worry about how her message would be received in a community still grappling with underlying tensions. The ceremony was held in the school auditorium, filled with proud parents, enthusiastic students, and respected community members. Simone stood at the podium, her heart swelling with a mix of pride and anxiety. She began her speech by celebrating the achievements of the graduates, sharing stories of resilience and determination. As you step into the next chapter of your lives, remember that true leadership is not just about holding positions of power, but about fostering inclusivity and equity in every endeavor you undertake, she said, her voice strong and clear. A few students nodded appreciatively, their eyes bright with inspiration. However, as she continued, Simone noticed a group of parents whispering among themselves, their expressions wary. Here we go again, she thought, anticipating the inevitable backlash. Towards the end of her speech, Simone addressed the broader community's role in shaping the future. Our strength lies in our unity and our ability to support one another. Let's work together to create a community where everyone feels valued and empowered. As she concluded, the room erupted into applause, but the undercurrent of tension remained palpable. After the ceremony, Simone was approached by Grace Thompson, the moderator from the community forum. Simone, your speech was inspiring, Grace said, her tone sincere. But I know there's still a lot of work to be done. How do you plan to bridge the gap between your initiatives and the community's trust? Simone sighed, feeling the weight of the question. It's a continuous effort, Grace. We need to remain transparent, listen actively, and adapt our strategies based on the community's feedback. Trust isn't built overnight, but with persistent dedication, we can achieve it. Grace nodded, offering a supportive smile. I believe in what you're doing, Simone. It's going to take time, but your commitment is evident. As Simone left the auditorium, she felt a mix of hope and frustration. Every effort counts, even when the progress seems slow, she reminded herself, determined to persevere despite the mounting challenges. Later that week, Simone attended a networking event organized by Reynolds Health Systems to foster collaboration between local businesses and community organizations. The venue was a bustling hotel ballroom, filled with the hum of conversations and clinking glasses. Simone navigated through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries and discussing potential partnerships. However, not everyone was welcoming. Near the refreshments table, she encountered Richard Collins, the stern board member from her recent meeting. Dr. Reynolds, Richard began, his tone clipped, I hope you're seeing some progress. The board is getting impatient with the slow pace of these initiatives. Simone maintained her composure, though her frustration simmered beneath the surface. Progress takes time, Richard. We're making strides, but systemic change isn't immediate. Richard raised an eyebrow, his skepticism evident. And what about the ongoing resistance in the community? How do you justify the continued investment when the reception is so lukewarm? Simone met his gaze, her voice steady despite the internal turmoil. The resistance is a sign that we need to intensify our efforts, not abandon them. By addressing the root causes of these biases, we can create lasting change that benefits everyone. Richard sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. I understand the idealism, Simone, but we need to see tangible results soon. The board expects accountability and measurable outcomes. As Simone walked away, she couldn't help but feel the weight of the board's expectations pressing down on her. How do I balance their demands with the complex realities on the ground, she wondered. The internal struggle between maintaining her professionalism and the mounting frustration evident in her mind. Later that evening, Simone attended a dinner hosted by the Reynolds Health Systems team, a gesture of appreciation for their hard work. The atmosphere was relaxed, with soft music playing in the background and the aroma of delicious food filling the air. As she mingled with her colleagues, she felt a temporary respite from the day's tensions. Seated at a table with Marcus and Elena, Simone shared her concerns about the board's expectations. They're pushing for faster results, but I'm not sure how to accelerate the process without compromising the integrity of our initiatives. Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her arm. Change is always a gradual process, Simone. We need to stay focused on our long-term goals and continue building those relationships. The resistance will diminish as people see the genuine efforts we're making. Elena nodded in agreement. And remember, we're not alone in this. We have the support of dedicated team members who believe in our mission. Lean on us when things get tough. Simone appreciated their support, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the mounting challenges. Thank you both. It means a lot to have you by my side. As the evening progressed, Simone found herself deep in conversation with a local business owner named Linda Adams. Linda owned a small bookstore in Eastbridge and had been an ally in her community outreach efforts. Simone, I admire your dedication, Linda said, her eyes reflecting sincerity. But I worry that without broader support, these initiatives might fall flat. We need more voices, more representation. Simone nodded thoughtfully. You're absolutely right. Linda, inclusivity means ensuring that everyone has a seat at the table. We're working on expanding our partnerships and involving more community members in the decision-making process. Linda smiled warmly. I'm glad to hear that. Let's explore ways we can collaborate more closely. Your vision aligns with the values of our community, and together, we can make a significant impact. As Simone left the dinner, her mind was a whirlwind of strategies and solutions. We need to amplify our efforts and ensure that every voice is heard, she mused, the internal struggle between maintaining composure and the frustration of slow progress driving her forward. The following week, Simone decided to take a more hands-on approach, organizing a series of small group discussions aimed at fostering open dialogue between the community and Reynolds Health Systems. These sessions were designed to create safe spaces where residents could express their concerns, share their experiences, and collaborate on solutions. The first session was held at a local community center, with participants ranging from young students to elderly residents. As Simone walked into the room, she was greeted by a mix of faces, some eager to engage, others hesitant and guarded. Seated at the front was Officer Clark, who had volunteered to facilitate the discussions on community safety. His presence was a reminder of the delicate balance between authority and trust within Eastbridge. Simone took her seat, ready to listen and learn from the community's experiences. The facilitator, a respected community leader named Grace Thompson, began the session with an introduction. "Tonight, we're here to bridge gaps and foster understanding," Grace announced, her voice calm and welcoming. "We want to hear your stories, your challenges, and work together to find solutions that benefit everyone." As the discussions unfolded, Simone listened intently to the myriad of perspectives shared by the attendees. Stories of discrimination, economic hardships, and feelings of exclusion painted a vivid picture of the systemic issues plaguing the community. One resident, a young mother named Aisha Thompson, shared her struggles with accessing affordable healthcare. "It's not just about having facilities nearby," she explained, "but also about feeling comfortable and respected when seeking care." Simone felt a surge of empathy, her frustration with the persistent biases now channeled into a renewed commitment to address these challenges. "Aisha, your experiences highlight the importance of culturally competent care. We're working on training our staff to be more aware of these issues and to provide a more inclusive environment for all patients." Another attendee, a middle-aged man named Samuel Reed, voiced his concerns about economic disparities. "We need more job opportunities that cater to the skills within our community, not just high-paying positions that exclude many of us." Simone nodded thoughtfully. Creating job opportunities that are accessible and equitable is crucial. We're exploring partnerships with local businesses and educational institutions to provide training and employment opportunities tailored to the community's needs. As the evening progressed, Simone found herself growing more connected to the community's struggles and aspirations. "This is the kind of dialogue we need," she thought, her frustration giving way to a deeper understanding of the systemic challenges they faced. However, not all interactions were positive. During a break, Simone overheard a conversation between two local business owners, Tom Whitaker and Linda Parker, discussing the effectiveness of Horizon Apartments initiatives. Tom glanced at Simone as she walked by, his expression tinged with skepticism. "Do you think they're genuinely committed? Or is this just a corporate facade?" Linda sighed, her eyes meeting Simone's briefly before averting her gaze. "I want to believe in their intentions, but actions speak louder than words. We need to hold them accountable." Simone felt a pang of frustration, but maintained her composure. "I understand your concerns, Tom. Accountability is key, and we're committed to demonstrating our dedication through consistent actions." Tom nodded curtly, but his skepticism remained evident. How can I overcome these deep-seated biases, she wondered, the internal struggle between maintaining her professionalism and the mounting frustration intensifying. As the weeks continued, Simone faced a relentless barrage of subtle and overt biases. At board meetings, her suggestions were often overshadowed by those of her male counterparts, who were given more credit for collaborative ideas. During community interactions, her presence as a successful Black woman was met with both admiration and underlying suspicion, creating a complex web of support and resistance. One afternoon, Simone was invited to speak at a local business association meeting where she intended to showcase the progress made by Reynolds Health Systems and Horizon Apartments. As she prepared her presentation, she couldn't help but feel the weight of expectation pressing down on her. The meeting room was filled with influential business leaders, community members, and local officials. Simone took her place at the podium, her heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and determination. "Thank you all for being here today," Simone began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "I'm here to share the strides we've made in fostering inclusivity and supporting our community through the Horizon Apartments project." She detailed the initiatives they had implemented, emphasizing the collaborative efforts and community-driven approach. However, as she concluded her presentation, she noticed a group of attendees whispering and casting doubtful glances her way. One of them, a prominent local judge named Harold Jennings, stood up, his expression stern. "Dr. Reynolds, while your initiatives are commendable, we've heard reports of continued biases and resistance. How do you address the fact that these underlying issues persist despite your efforts? Simone took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. Judge Jennings, systemic biases are deeply entrenched and require sustained, multifaceted efforts to dismantle. We're committed to continuous improvement, seeking feedback, and adapting our strategies to ensure that we're truly making a difference. Judge Jennings nodded slowly, his demeanor unyielding. I hope your commitment is genuine. Eastbridge deserves leaders who not only speak about change, but actively work to eradicate the biases that hinder our progress. As Simone stepped down from the podium, she felt the frustration of the day weigh heavily on her. Am I making any impact? Or is it all just an uphill battle, she thought, the internal struggle between anger and professionalism threatening to overwhelm her. That night, Simone confided in Marcus and Elena, expressing her concerns about the persistent biases and the slow pace of change. It feels like no matter what we do, there's always someone doubting our intentions or questioning our efforts, she lamented, her voice tinged with exhaustion. Marcus offered a reassuring smile. Change is never easy, Simone. These biases are deeply ingrained, and dismantling them will take time and relentless effort, but every step we take brings us closer to our goal. Elena nodded in agreement. We need to stay focused and resilient. Let's explore new strategies to engage the community and address these biases more effectively. Simone sighed, feeling a mixture of gratitude and lingering frustration. Thank you both. Your support means everything. I just wish the progress felt more tangible. As the weeks turned into months, Simone continued to navigate the intricate landscape of community engagement and organizational leadership. Each interaction revealed new layers of prejudice and bias, both subtle and overt, challenging her resolve and pushing her to find innovative ways to foster inclusivity. One afternoon, Simone received an urgent call from Linda Parker, the single mother she had spoken with at the dinner event. Linda's voice was strained. Her words rushed. Simone, I need to talk to you. There's been an incident at my bookstore. It's about Horizon Apartments. Simone felt a knot tighten in her stomach. What happened, Linda? Is everything okay? Linda hesitated before continuing. A customer reported feeling discriminated against by one of your staff members. She claims that the way she was treated made her feel unwelcome. I thought you'd want to know. Simone's heart sank, the frustration and helplessness intensifying. Another setback, she thought, her mind racing with questions. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Linda. I'll address it immediately. Can you provide more details? Linda explained the situation, her voice wavering with concern. The customer was a young woman who said she felt singled out and dismissed by one of your employees. It's troubling, and I fear it could further damage the trust we're trying to build. Simone felt a surge of anger, mixed with determination. I'm so sorry this happened, Linda. I promise to investigate this thoroughly and take appropriate action. Thank you for letting me know. As she hung up the phone, Simone felt the weight of the situation pressing down on her. How can I prevent these incidents when biases are so deeply ingrained? She pondered, her frustration now mingling with a profound sense of responsibility. Determined to address the issue head-on, Simone convened an emergency meeting with Marcus and Elena. They gathered in her living room, the room filled with a palpable sense of urgency. We need to handle this delicately, Simone began, her voice firm. Another incident like this could undermine all our efforts. We need to ensure that our staff is not only trained, but also held accountable for their actions. Marcus nodded, his expression serious. We should review the incident thoroughly, provide additional training, and implement stricter accountability measures. It's essential that we show the community that we take these concerns seriously.